Afternoon, everyone. I'm Sarah Gams. I'm the Student Learning and Development Program Manager here at the South Carolina Department of Education. And I don't know about y'all, but I've had such an inspiring day. And if you have like reactions on your screen, like that little raise hand or hearts or whatever you can put up in the chat, like I'm going to round of applause Dr. Green again for that amazing impassioned speech. That's where they are. That is just, yes, please, I'm in for it. So I have the great honor of introducing Deion Jamison, our 2023 South Carolina Teacher of the Year. Before serving as the South Carolina Teacher of the Year, Deion taught 9th and 10th grade English at Legacy Early College in Greenville, South Carolina, a charter school within the South Carolina Public Charter School District. He is the first Black male and charter school teacher to receive this honor. Deion earned his undergraduate degree in sociology from Clemson University and went on to teach middle school ELA in his former school district, Orangeburg County Schools. He would then go on to earn his master's in education from Johns Hopkins University. A conversation with his dorm mates about ACT scores changed Deion's world, and thus his passion for education was ignited. Recognizing the disparities that exist in education in both our state and nation, he committed to teaching not only as a career, but as a responsibility, ascribing to the proverb, to whom much is given, much is required. Deion strives to be for his students what many of his peers did not have. Deion's commitment to education has been recognized by various groups, including the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the National Council of Teachers of English, and Teach for America. Deion's greatest strength in teaching is recognizing and honoring the humanity and genius his students bring to his classroom. Before standards, before objectives, and before assessment, Deion believes in learning who his students and their families are and aims to provide his students with the agency to forge their own pathways and to help others along the way. Deion is most proud of cultivating brave and inclusive spaces for all students to thrive. So without further ado, I give you my friend and colleague, 2023 South Carolina Teacher of the Year, Deion Jamison.
Thank you, Sarah, and good afternoon, everyone. I hope that everyone is doing well. I'm doing that thing where I absolutely hate when I'm narrating as I get ready to share my screen. Wait, here we go. Alrighty, so this afternoon, I won't be before you long, but I just want to talk a little bit about one of the major beliefs that I have in terms of education, but also in humanity, right? And that is the power of we, and how it's just so important for us to be interconnected with one another so that we can teach and lead effectively. So I want you all to just consider these few questions. What would it be like if you were to walk in your classrooms, your schools, your community, and readily see the impact that you are making on the lives of your students and on their families? What if love and joy coexisted with learning and high expectations daily? And what if we lived in a society where all students, regardless of their background, had access to an excellent education? What would the world look like? What would it sound like? What would it be like? So those aforementioned questions and things aren't just these possibilities. They are very attainable things that can actually happen, because anything is possible with collective action. And it's going to take the collective effort from all of us, teachers, administrators, parents, community members, and students in order to make this thing happen. So I want to talk a little bit about collective action and how I got to the point where I am because of collective action through my particular journey. So on your screen, you should see two pictures of two very different classrooms, the same room, but two very different environments. And this picture here on the left is ideally how I would set up my classroom each and every school year. I would have my students in rows working independently, no talking. I was the bearer of all knowledge and I did not want to hear anything from my students. I wanted my classroom to be a very teacher-centric classroom. There was very little opportunities for collaboration, and I just wanted my students to really get all the information from me. And I think that was more so the classroom management tactic tactic that I was trying to use as a young teacher coming into the classroom. I wanted to make sure that I had control of my students. And that word control is one that I absolutely despise when I'm talking about education, because you can't control another human being, right? But then on the right side is a picture, same classroom, a few years later, with a very different environment where my students are collaborating with one another and they're doing all of these amazing things and they're learning more. They're engaging in turn-in talks. They're doing group activities and group projects and engaging in group discussion. And the environment of our classroom shifted, and so did the relationships that I had with my students in this particular environment that I co-created with my students. Another instance that I'm thinking of here is Kid Deion. Here's a fun fact. I took this picture maybe about 2 weeks ago, so I'm not I'm not that old, right? But when I think about Kid Deion, I think of a kid that was extremely quiet and who would have benefited from a classroom that is similar to the previous picture that you saw that was on the left with the rows. He would wear his shirts buttoned up all the way to the top. He doesn't have that on today, but he would wear his shirts buttoned up all the way to the top. He was ready to learn. And he really didn't need the help or the assistance from his peers nor his teachers, because he was just so, I guess, like really immersed in school, and he really wanted to do well, and he didn't want to depend on others to do that for him. And so what Kid Deion ended up doing was carrying that same mentality that he had as a student into his teaching career. This is a picture on the very first day of school. A selfie is what we call those things. And I took this picture at my school, William J. Clark Middle School in Orangeburg, South Carolina, on the first day of school. And it makes me think about the trajectory and the pathway that I took in terms of getting to where I am, but also how I was still like not collaborating with others. So first year teacher Deion, you saw my classroom with the rows. That was how he set up his classroom or whatnot. But that environment that I created really created a lot of issues for me. I was pretty much struggling each and every single day. And I think that's like a common theme for a first year teacher, but it's a little bit scary when someone is struggling and they are not asking for help. I would be the one that would take all of my papers home each and every day, and I wouldn't do anything with them. They would just sit in the car, and I would become overwhelmed with all of the work and all the tasks and all the responsibilities that I had to complete as a teacher, because as we all know, it seems as if it's a never-ending list of things that one has to complete. And so I was really drowning, and I had access to mentors. I had access to my administration. If you know anything about Orangeburg County, you know that it's a small knit community. So I had all this access to all these different resources that I just was not utilizing for whatever reasons. And I can tell you those reasons because I wanted to be very independent, and I did not want to necessarily seem as if I was struggling, and I did not want to connect with others in the quote unquote struggle that I was having. But it wasn't until I learned and found my community that I was able to begin to thrive. So there are a variety of pictures here on your screen that we'll briefly talk about. And the first one being my cohort in my class of the District Teachers of the Year for 2021, 2022, and how I was just able to come together with this group and be so inspired by the things that they were doing in their classrooms and in their communities. And just being immersed in that community really helped to boost my own morale as a teacher, but also helped me to forge different relationships with my own colleagues back on my campus and with my students and their families. I have pictures here with my former team in Orangeburg County School District, literally the best team that I've probably worked with. And in that picture, I have maybe two former teachers that taught me. So that was really cool to be immersed in that particular community. Did not ask them for help my first year, but definitely my second year, I started to rely on that help and on that sense of connection that would help me get to where I am. Pictures from my Teach for America cohort, and pictures from my NCTE Early Career Educator of Color cohort. And what this screen really displays is just how I was really able to become immersed in the various communities that I was involved in, and really utilize these supports and these networks as these systems to help me make strides in both my personal and my professional career. And I think that by me being so immersed in these communities and really recognizing that there is power in we, I understood that this is a job that requires collective effort, one, but it also that's when I also started to see the success in terms of my professional career. And so that leads me to this slide. This past May, I was named the South Carolina Teacher of the Year. And I don't think that I arrived to that moment alone. There's not any work that I've done necessarily myself. It's the work and the hard work of my students and of their families and of those various networks that I am intertwined within. When I started to reach out to folks, my mentors, the teachers down the hallways, anyone that was willing to offer any helping hand for me, I then started to realize the success and started to see the success within the things that I was doing in my classroom. And that paid off dividends. In my second year of teaching, I had a 100% pass rate on the English 1 end of course, which is no longer a thing, but I had a 100% pass rate on that. And it's because of the hard work that my students did, but that I also have done by collaborating with a variety of stakeholders in order to get us to that point. And then lastly, I became a column co-editor for a national journal, Language Arts, through the National Council of Teachers of English. And that was simply through a collection with a District Teacher of the Year, Valente Gibson, who I will always shout out because I think that those connections are just so important in helping one reach the places in which they're trying to go. So that leads me to this key point here, right? The most valuable resource that we have basically is each other. It's not the expensive curricula that our school districts tend to buy. It's not the latest technology that is being implemented year after year. It's not all of the policies that are being rolled down and coming into our classrooms. It's the teacher down the hallway. It's the teacher next door. It is the families at home. It is our students. It is all of these people, these human beings that have access and have the wherewithal to help us get to where we're trying to go. And it is a collective effort in order to do the things that we want to do within education. So when I talk about the power of we, I think that there are multiple different tenets that go with this, right? And the first one that I had to recognize in my own teaching experience here is that there's less power in me and greater power in we. There's so much that one can accomplish when they are interconnected and that they're using and utilizing their networks in order to accomplish the goals. I think about educational inequity and how I'm originally from Orangeburg County. That's a part of what we unfortunately know as the quote unquote corridor of shame. And when I think about achieving educational equity, is not going to take one single teacher, it's not going to take one single school, it's not going to take one single superintendent, it's going to take a collective of folks in order to achieve equity in all of our South Carolina schools. Another tenet of the power of we, I believe, is that collaboration is definitely greater than competition. I think a lot of times we get so wrapped up in trying to compete with others and trying to be the absolute best when the best thing that serves us and serves our students is when we come together to collaborate. I saw that the hashtag for this conference is Connect SC. We have to be willing to connect with one another and to be able to collaborate with one another in order to achieve the success that we so desire to see within our students, within our schools, and within our communities. Another tenet that I believe is extremely important, and it may be because I'm a relational person, that we need to go beyond lesson plans and share the things that matter. And those things that matter is our stories. The stories are the things that really keep us going. It helps to illuminate our humanity, first and foremost, and it helps to create this positive change that we so desire to see. So when I'm talking to colleagues down the hallways, yes, I would love those lesson plans. I would love to have that easy start for that week, but I also want to hear about the challenges and the successes that come with this particular job and how that has helped you to get to where you are, and in turn will help me to get where I'm trying to go, right? So I believe that it's very important for teachers in their collaboration to not only share the materials that they're teaching, but to also share those stories that will help transcend these accomplishments that we're trying to make within education, these strides. And then last but not least, the very last thing here is for us to become immersed in community. I think that it is essential for individuals to know that they don't necessarily work for individuals, but they work with them, right? Each community has its own assets, its own positives, and it's very important that when we go into communities to do work, that we're there working alongside those folks that will lead them to their own liberation and that will lead them to their own success. And the only way to do that is to become immersed in that particular community and really knowing who the people are and what it is that they stand for, what are their values, what do they believe in, and just really intertwine and immerse yourself in that community so that you can make the changes that you so desire to see. So one of my favorite quotes is an English proverb that I typically make my students write on every single year. And that quote here is, "Many hands make light work," because it's very true. When you have a collective of folks that are working together to do something, to accomplish something, that job is 10 times more easier. And when I think about the state of education, which we're currently living in, it's going to take many hands to make this impossible task actually attainable. So I actually went through this way faster than what I imagined what I would have, but I am going to leave us with one thing, which I think is the greatest movie that ever exists. It's my favorite musical. I'm a Disney kid, obviously. So if you know this, you know that this is High School Musical, and this is the closing to the first movie. And the lyrics that they're singing here in this gift that you see on your screen is, "We're all in this together." And that's what I want to impress upon you all, is that we are all in this together, that we need to work together and really realize the power of we, right? That there's less power in me, that there's more power in we, so that we can accomplish the things that we so desire to accomplish, and that we can make those strides with our parents, with our families, and most importantly, with our students. So with that being said, I have reached the end of my presentation. I would love to continue this conversation with you all via social media. So I'm going to leave this up on your screens for just a moment, and you can make sure that you follow any of these handles, get my email address, and let's collaborate, because as stated before, there's much more power in we than me. Thank you all.
Wow, thank you so much, Mr. Jamison. That was awesome. And I love the power of we. Thank you.